Okay, hello everybody, so lovely to see you. I'm very happy you're here. I'm still going to introduce myself to the people that don't know me, don't know much about me. And I'm going to start with my full name instead of just Sylvia Palacios Whitman. Okay, it really is Maria Sylvia Palacios Burgos Rojas Lopez Whitman. Now, my last name, Whitman, could also be pronounced Whitman. Not tonight, no. but yeah. So, as you all know, I'm a Latino lady, Latino woman, and I can see a lot of my Latino friends here. Well, not that many, actually. Oh, no, sorry. There are some of my Latino friends. Oh, there you are. Hey, nice to see you. Yeah, but there's more and more Latino women in this country, and I love it. And I can prove it to you by doing some miracle thinking and really concentrating. Let me see, for instance, let me see. Can you come here, please, in the front, if you don't mind? Okay. Can you give me your last name?
Carter.
Well, can you give me your first name?
Tina.
Latina. Cosita. Yeah. So, going to show you more. We're going to do one more Latina stuff, and then I'll get down to this one. Okay. Now, take a look at this Latina. You're not going to believe this. Here comes. Now, look at it well, okay? Latina, okay? Only this Latina has a last name, and it's right here. Yes, it's Tina de Baño. I told you, Tina's all over the place. Okay. All right. So, just don't touch it. All right. I'm going to go with Visit to the Monkey. First one. Oh, okay. This is the first story. Is it okay if can you still see it if I move? Okay. As a child, even when I was very little, I was very interested in, I didn't know about movies or performances or art or anything like that, but I really did wanted to invent things, to do stuff, so everybody who lived in the house, including the dogs, were participating in my presentations in the second floor of my parents' house. And so you can see my father running over to not miss the performance. And this woman, you were not going to believe it, but it's also called Tina, this one here. Tina, okay, took the pennies of the people coming to see the performances. And here is me. And this one here is my aunt, my grand aunt, who also was one of my big performers, and Kela, who was the daughter of the maid, also my absolute wonderful performer, and even the cat and the dogs all got together there, and for hours I just made up stories, and it was just my first performances. And I must have been, maybe 7 years old, 8 years old, something like that. All right. This was the way we're doing it. Okay, this is at my Uncle Cato's place in the south of Chile. He had these English horses. They were not Latin horses. And he played polo, and he used to give my sister, right here, Gloria, Mancovero, this horse that didn't move at all. So the minute my sister got on top of it, the two of them fell asleep. He gave my brother this other horse that wasn't all that much better either, but he decided that I was better at the horses, and he gave me a horse that took me all around running, and I holding on and holding on. So after a while, it wasn't all that much fun to go see my uncle anymore. So we stopped this. All right. All right. This is where I went to school in the south of Chile, where I was born in a town called Osorno, and a very small town. It had a lot of German people. And I don't know why, but these were German schools first, and this is when I was already in the German non-school. They did not like me very much. Let me see, because I wasn't too disciplined with them, but this is actually being in the gym class. We all hated the gym class because the nun made us walk around and pick up stuff, and we all pick up stuff. So before we went to the gym, we all put our coats, our umbrellas, our bags to take home, and while the nun prayed, Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos, santificado sea tu nombre, we just kind of walk around, hold on to stuff, and that was what my gym class was in this place, as you can imagine. All right. All right. I don't know if you guys know that there's a lot of earthquakes in Chile. A lot of them in the south especially, and I was born in the south of Chile. So there were earthquakes and all kinds of things happening, and we were not. So this one was one. Here I am inside of the house, wondering if I should move out of the house because it got dangerous. My mother holding from a tree up there. My father running and trying to hold to something. Even the dog getting out of his house, trying to escape, and the bird too. And it was just one of those absolutely unbelievable situations. And I heard my mother scream at my father, and my father's name was Gilberto. And he says, Gilberto, where do you think the episode is? And my father, rolling on the floor, answered, where do you think it is? Yeah, so that was the earthquake. Okay. All right, in this earthquake, I was not present, but it was such a horrendous, not just earthquake, but the ocean came out of the ocean and really got a hold of the poor cows that were having a good time here eating, and with force, sorry guys, with force threw the cows on top of the trees, holding from the branches that you can see up here. And the lady that lived around there telling me the story said, I said, and what did the cows do? And she said, they went moo. what else we're going to go. No. Yeah, so that was very tragic. Let me see. Oh, okay, this is me jumping out of the second floor of my best friend at the time, Dora Oelkers, because they were German, and we went in school together. This is me falling from the top, and her up here. This is her father coming, as you can see, quite furious. The thing that happened there is that we went to the matinee, early movie around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was an American movie. Movies that were usually American. I never heard of anything that wasn't American being a movie when I was a kid. And so it was about people jumping out of planes during the war and in their parachutes. And my friend Dora said to me, she says, it looks wonderful to do, but it's got to be so hard to do, to jump. And I said, no, easy as hell. And she says, what are you talking about? And I said, umbrellas are just as good. And she just said to me, okay, let's go home and try it. I said, we're going to the second floor. You handle me the umbrella. I go down first. I come up. I hold you the umbrella. You jump second. Good idea. So we go up. I jump down the window. You know what happened. Down I went like a stone. And unfortunately, they were washing their clothes and drying them outside. That wasn't all that bad, but it did save my life, according to the father of my friend. But I fell over a big basket with tiny puppies. And that was the end of the puppies. But that was terrible. That was the worst for me. And then the father coming here, going up the stairs to the second floor where his daughter, Dora, was upstairs, screaming, crying. And then I hear, whoosh, whoosh, and he beat her up so badly. And he was screaming, this is for you to remember not to let your stupid friends do stuff like this. This is what you deserve. He didn't beat me up because I think my mother would have taken care of him. But yeah, so that's this story. All right. So this here is my father, and here is my mother. And this is my sister, myself, my brother, my parents' friends, and my grandmother, and Chepa. Chepa was my mother's pet that she got when was a tiny little baby, couldn't move, couldn't eat, couldn't do anything. And so Chepa came to be this tiny little thing into the house. But as time passed, Chepa got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point that they had to push her to be able to go from one room to the next because, couldn't do it. And so, but Chepa loved my mother so much that wherever my mother went, Chepa went. And so if my mother had invited friends and they were dancing, Chepa would follow, oh. And my grandmother had it, and she said, this is disgusting, having to go to see somebody for dinner and to dance in the big following your mother. And she left the house. So that was my grandmother leaving the famous party with Chepa. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is, again, my mother sitting there. She was always in the middle and very, anyhow. And my father playing the piano. He played the piano. And my sister and this guy that they got to come and help her dance, and myself, and the dogs and the cats in the back. And because my mother decided that we had to, this was at the Elvis Presley time. And we were crazy about Elvis Presley. So my mother and my father decided that we were from the south of Chile, no more Elvis Presley. We were going to have to learn some Latin dancing, some Latin music, some Latin everything. And she said, it has to be, what are the name of the dances? Can we remember? A samba, no, a samba, a this, a that, Latin music. But my father could only play tangos in the piano. So we had to learn how to do all those kind of stuff with tango that goes da, 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 da. So it was very complicated. We got, and not just that, I never went anywhere where I needed to do the dances that my mother wanted me to dance. So, yeah, but my mother was convinced that this was the right thing for us to do. Okay. All right. So my mother with her favorite dog up there, and we hated that dog because she loved that dog so much that she would give him better food than to us. Not really, but she would pick delicious stuff that we wanted and give it to her dog. And she had decided to leave the south of Chile and go visit some friends in the north. And there I am dancing, saying, yes, yes, this is when the dog is going to see what's good. Just leave it up to me. But my mother heard this, and she said, oh, no. She called me apart, and she said, I'm leaving. Pulito was the name of the dog, and I know how much you hate him, and I know that you're going to mistreat him. So when I come back and there's anything wrong with the dog, you're going to be the one that's going to suffer through it. So instead of my dancing, when my mother left, I had to live for that dog, feed him well, have him sleep on my arms, doing this and this, so that when my mother came back, I was okay. Nothing was going to happen. So that was what that drawing is about. Okay, there it is again. My mother sleeping, my sister right here, and I was down here because I was laughing so hard I couldn't stand, because I used to put a glass of water in between of the doors. So on top of the door, when it was like that, there was a glass of water here that my sister didn't see. So she walks through the door, boom, she's wet. And immediately go to my mother and complains and say, look what Sylvia did to me. So, but I could hear this story of my sister telling it to my mother. So I would run to the bathroom, fill it up again, put it again. So my sister comes out like this. My mother wants to speak to you right now. Hurry up, go. I don't know what's going to happen. And I just walk around like that because I knew what was going to happen. So I'm in my mother's room, and my mother is about to tell me what my punishment was going to be, and then we hear, whoa! This was better than anything, no matter what they did to me after that. It was okay. Oh, this is a great story. All right. My dad, but wait, I have to show you something. I want to show you something. Just 1 minute. Because I'll show you. I look just like my dad. Yeah, exactly like him. And my sister was in love with Well, let me see. Well, you cannot see him, but this is, my sister was madly in love with this boy, and here I am sitting here with my father, my grandmother, my sister, and whatnot. And my mother and father decided that my sister could not keep on seeing this boy, and they didn't even know who the parents were. You know, they were very concerned about the parents and sisters and whatnot. So they decided to tell the boy, Osvaldo, to bring somebody from his family for lunch. And sure enough, Osvaldo asked his father, right there in the corner, and to come for lunch, and he was very happy. They arrived for lunch, my sister's boyfriend and his father, and my mother had cooked empanadas. You can see the empanadas, and chicken and salad, and great lunch for the father of this boy. And so he sat, and we never seen anybody be so anxious to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat more and more and more. And he couldn't take it after a while. So he would go to the corner of the table, which this one would do, and jump to put the food down so he could eat more. And he would sit there, and my father was like, what kind of people are this? Okay, and he would go and sit and eat several more empanadas and this and that, and go to the next corner. We had never seen anything like that, and I still haven't. I mean, who would do that? Yeah, and so at the end of this, there was nothing to do. My parents did not allow her to see the boy or anybody else. That was the end of the invitation and everything. Yeah, so that's that one. This one, it's me right here. And the reason that and me over there, obviously. And the reason I made this drawing like this, I would imagine many years ago, is because it was more like one of the things like the devil made me do it kind of stuff, you know. This nun here that was the head of our school had the idea always to come to the classes and scream at the kids for one thing or another. And she had always this finger pointing at the kids and at the people, at the kids. And I had it one day. Oh, and she had this red thing that I call metapio. I don't know what it's called in English, but if you had at the time in the 40s, some red cats or whatever, they put that thing. And I grabbed her finger like that because she was putting it in my nose. And I grabbed, and I said, she said, let go of my finger. I said, no. And she said, you better let go of my finger. No. And she threatened me with everything imaginable. And at that point, I really wasn't going to let go of her finger. The more she told me, the worse it is. People cannot keep telling you, you know. So she said, okay, we're going to go to the Mother Superior, and she'll see what's happened. And we walked through the whole school, she walking with me after her, holding her finger, until we got to the Mother Superior. And the Mother Superior looked at me and she says, let go of that finger, and I did. Right away, because I knew what was going to happen to me. They were going to put me in the chapel for hours with a dead nun or whatever. That's what the kind of stuff they did. Yeah. All right. This was also the German school, Colegio Alemán in the south of Chile, where my parents liked it because they felt it was good learning. We were learning the language and how to read and write. So my first thing that I did was to learn mathematics in German. still that's what I do now. I don't, it's confused, but not well, it's terrible. Okay, so I went to school that day, and this one teacher here, this lady, who was not very nice. I don't remember exactly her name. It was something, Frau Holle, I'm gonna call her, something like that. Okay, and then she asked me where was my book to write, where I had done my notebook. She wanted to know, and I'd forgotten my notebook, so I forgot my notebook. She grabbed me and slapped me really hard in the face. And my mother had always said to me, if somebody touches you in school, you come home right away and tell me. And so I ran out of school, fast, so they can't catch me. I get home, my mother is still in bed. It's about 9:30, 10 in the morning. And I told her the whole story, and my mother got absolutely furious, got her brown coat on right here, and took me, you can see the horns, because she was so angry. She was just, I could see, and she was just, move fast, hurry up, we're going to go and talk to Frau Holle. And I was saying, no, Mama, please, that didn't hurt that much. And she says, I can see her fingers in your face. And so she got to the school, she talked to the head of the school right here and demanded to see Frau Melita, that was her name, Frau Melita. And Frau Melita was called Frau Melita to the, Frau Melita arrived, and my mother says, are you Frau Melita? And she says, yes. My mother said, and she says, how do you like it? And she grabbed me, and we walked out of school. Yeah. She was tough. That lady was tough. Yeah. All right, we got to the story with the monkey, guys. Not much more to endure. This is my father, myself, my sister, my brother, and the monkey, Tuno. His name is Tuno. My father arrived for lunch one day, and when my father walked into the house kind of like this and smiling like that, we knew something was happening. We knew there was something was going to happen. And it sure did. He said, I have a surprise for you. I'm going to take you this afternoon after lunch to go see a monkey. We went, a monkey? We had never seen monkeys, ever. You're in the south of Chile, you don't see many things, but monkeys are out of the question. And, but I had seen movies with enormous, monstrous, big monkeys. So we said, oh my gosh, we're probably going to have to go, where is this monkey? And my father said, it's in this place called Stigrad farm. And we're going to get into the farm, they're going to open up the door for us, and because I already called him, he said, and we're going to go see the monkey. And during the whole trip in the car, he told us, do not dare get too close to him. You don't know how to handle monkeys. You have never seen monkeys. This will not do. We're not. And so we just were very subdued. We just did exactly what my father said. And he said, I want you to sit over there. And then we walked in, and there was Tuno, the tiniest thing that you can believe it. We couldn't even believe that that thing was alive. And we said, where's the monkey? And my father said, what do you mean? That's the monkey. And Tuno was sitting like this, with a long chain like that. And we didn't know what to say. And he said, just go stand over there on the side. Don't make a move. Do not say anything. Do not do anything. Watch me. I know how to deal with monkeys. I said, okay. So my father, this very tall, thin man, started going closer. And she goes, Tuno, see? Another step, tunito. And we are like in complete shock. My father, what is he doing? Tunito, closer to the monkey. Tunito, with this, Tunito, jump up, grab his hand, and wouldn't let go of his fingers. And my father started going like this. With Tuno, get out. And we are like, we thought he was showing us something. We didn't know. And all of a sudden, my father said, "Stupids, do something," after he told us not to move. So we start running towards the house, trying to get some people coming, and they actually came, and they realized my father had practically, his hand was all gone, and he was a doctor, so for him it was very bad. And he was bleeding. They finally got the monkey out of my father's hand, and we all went to the hospital with him, which was very embarrassing because he was the head of the hospital. Out of pure stupidity, he practically lost I don't know how many fingers. And my father, which was always very friendly, a very funny guy, wouldn't look at us. He would just go like that, pretend that we were not there. And he told us on the way home, many hours after his operation, that he didn't want to ever see us mentioning the story to anybody. It's too little, too late. And certainly not tell the story to my mother or to my grandmother. And so we walk into the house, very quiet. We all walking like this, down there like that, sitting. And he was absolutely right. We were never allowed to talk about that story. It never happened again. He completely wanted to forget about it. That was that. That was your great-grandfather. Yeah. And the end. Actually, your great-grandfather, not your grandfather, I'm sorry. Yeah, so, what was I supposed to do here? I said, I'll walk out. Thank you, Julie.
Hi. So now I'm going to introduce this, Sylvia and Jay Sanders. And I want to remind you that after the conversation, there is some time for Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to keep them for the end. Sylvia Palacios Whitman. Thank you. Sylvia Palacios Whitman is a visual and performance artist who studied painting and sculpture at the Escuela de Bellas Artes at the University of Chile in Santiago, Chile. After moving to New York City in 1961, Palacios Whitman began experimenting with movement and contemporary dance and became involved with the downtown avant-garde. In the early 1970s, she performed with the Trisha Brown Dance Company and began directing and choreographing her own performances, which she staged at art venues in the city, including The Kitchen, Artist Space, and Sanabend Gallery. From 1980s onward, she began to focus on producing drawings, collages, and sculptural artworks made from paper, expanding on visual themes from her performances, which we emphasize in this exhibition that we have downstairs. Jay Sanders is the executive director and chief curator of Artist Space. Recent exhibitions include Attention Line, Jack Smith, Art Crust of Spiritual Oasis, and Unholding. He was previously a curator at the Whitney Museum of American Art, where he organized Calder Hypermobility, Laura Poitras's Astronoise, Rituals of Rented Island, Object Theater, Love Performance, and the new Psychodrama Manhattan, 1970-1980, and the 2012 Whitney Biennial with Elizabeth Sussman, along with the performance retrospectives Open Plan, Cecil Taylor, Dance Noise, Don't Look Back, 2015, and Takeshi Kosugi, Music Expanded. He was gallery director of Green Naftali from 2005 to 2010. Sanders has organized numerous exhibitions, concerts, film series, and events over the past 2 decades. There is going to be a reception after the conversation, and the galleries are going to be open in case you would like to see Sylvia's exhibitions downstairs. The exhibition is closing on July 22nd. We hope you can join us also on July 19 for the next public program about Chilean artists in New York, with participation of Palacios Whitman, Cecilia Vicuña, Marcelo Montealegre, and Jennifer McCall. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. It's a real honor to do this conversation with you. I guess I thought to just first, Sylvia, really congratulate you on this totally revelatory retrospective downstairs. It's so brilliant and heartening, and to see this sort of full presentation of your work across every form. It's something that you couldn't imagine 10 years ago or something. But yeah, it's astonishing, and I hope everyone here has had a chance to see it, and that many more do in the next month. And I thought maybe to start and talk a little bit about the exhibition.
Okay.
And then we can talk about what we saw tonight.
This isn't working.
Oh, it is on. I'll trade you. Here. Maybe that one's a little loud.
Hello? Okay.
So I was making a couple notes downstairs.
Okay.
I was thinking about when I first came to know your work, which
Right.
was in 2012, 2013. And at that time I was at the Whitney and kind of particularly interested in these lost foundational histories of New York performance art. And you made this amazing work, these sort of stark, visually magical, ephemeral performances throughout the 1970s. And then when you stopped performing in the early 1980s, the work was basically invisible. And so among artists that saw it, it became, I would say, infamous and talked about among artists and the intimate downtown audience that knew them. There were some small reviews in obscure publications and things, but when we met, I was initially completely blown away by the photos of Babette Mangold, who I think also, and you see in the exhibition downstairs, deserves a lot of credit for sort of her ability to capture the pure visual beauty and complexity of the work you do and how it deals with both 2 and 3 dimensions and tableau.
She should be with us here.
I know.
She was going to it.
She would be a great sort of third interlocutor, and she's actually kind of how we connected initially.
Yes.
As a sort of visual historian of that era. And so I guess the question I was thinking about was the performances have this kind of magical, highly ephemeral sort of visual, coming and going. And the exhibition is so striking in kind of the tactility and the materiality and seeing more of process and a bit pausing those magical short, sort of surreal, to use kind of a loaded word, moments. And I'm curious maybe your thoughts around these 2 modes of presentation, like what's achieved in performance and then kind of how it has been to see this work presented in a more of an exhibition format where the process and the drawings and kind of the impetus joins with the documentation.
All truth. Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's amazing that, I think that you are an extremely amazing person. Yeah, look what he just said. And I love his sense of humor and his looseness with life. He's just not somebody that would talk to art and just try to make it interesting. Baloney. He's just straight like it is and how he feels. And I love that, and I appreciate that you're doing that. Yeah. So I think that New York City is very lucky to have you. Absolutely. The art world, absolutely. An applause for him, guys.
Oh, God. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, and I would say maybe a little bit around this kind of, I don't know, some reflection. I guess I'm curious to ask you a bit what it maybe what your impressions of an exhibition say is.
Yeah.
Is kind of maybe versus sort of how they lived as these moments that would happen that you could kind of hyper design and then they would go away.
Yeah, but you know, it's curious because when he called me the first time, I guess after Babette told you about the pictures that she had taken years and years, I think I stopped for about 40 years to make performances and stuff like that. And he called and I said, no, I'm not going to do this show. What is this? You know, but I realized that it was important to show those things, and he came over and we looked at it, and it worked out really very good. And ever since, I cannot stop. You know, and that's pretty much what I have to say, except that the two of us being here sitting together is very, very important for me. And I appreciated everything that you did, bring me back to do this work again. So if any part of the work that you can see now you don't like, you know who to call.
Well, I made a step, but many other people have kind of taken it further.
I know.
Yeah, so just to give context, we worked together on a show in 2013 that
Right.
revealed, I think, the sort of these histories of performance art where there was really not a trace left.
Right.
Work that maybe would come from histories of dance or music or other forms, but then really
Right.
was the kind of beginnings of New York performance art, you know?
Yes.
And involved some presentation of archival material, and then you did performances, kind
Right.
of revisited these
Yes.
works as live works.
Mm-hmm. And and the show that at the Whitney, which was like after 40 years, I mean, to have this, you know, incredible show. So that was very important and wonderful for me and for everybody else. Yeah.
I mean, I was struck downstairs. There's, I like that the intro text on the wall starts with a quote from you.
Yeah.
And it used these words, non-exclusivity,
Yeah.
and daily activity. And
Right.
I thought, oh, what a kind of beautiful, like powerful, blunt way to talk about your work and kind of not being dance, not being a kind of formal, abstract,
Right.
aestheticized production, but actually kind of like exaggerating and dealing with the everyday.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe just a historical question to kind of ask you, like, I see your work as so foundational to this category that became called performance art, which was sort of things that were not something else in a way, that kind of dropped a lot of the baggage of these other mediums.
Yeah.
And as you were here in New York and coming in, you know, out of the work you're doing with Trisha Brown, which was more in dance and choreography, what was sort of the impetus to make the first live works?
Yes. And actually, I did my first two performances in New York City at Trisha's place. And of course, it was very different from what she was doing. So I realized, but there was something about just doing, not at the time, the performances that some people maybe were doing. Maybe I'm talking wrong, but for what I remember, were long performances. The one thing followed the other, one thing followed the other. And my thing in art is, don't do that. Just get the shit and do it, and that's it. It's the end. You know, you just do it. That's what the hands are. Green hands. What do? They just go up. What do you do with going up the stairs? You go up and down. I mean, and that's it. That was the end. In a lot of the criticisms that I might have gotten at the time from some critics were that this is like such short pieces. What was this? You know, and I realized that's the way I am in general, and it's just not the only way that can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so striking that maybe coming out of, like you say, like minimalism or theater work
Right.
that was very long and
Right.
slow. Like I think of like Robert Wilson or Richard Foreman or
Right.
many performance people for whom like duration became a real
Right.
modus operandi. And yeah, for you to do an evening of works and it be like 10 works,
Right, 10
all of
works
which
in
are like
one,
1
right.
minute each.
Boom, minute of this, a minute of that, and the critics did not know what to say. They did like me and they wrote good stuff, but at the same time I realized, and there were no words like now to talk about that. So it was all they had to figure it out. What the heck is this, you know?
And now when you see, say, like the material objects and the documentation in a more static form, slowed down,
right.
what does it bring anything new to you to kind of look at this work again in this form?
Yeah, it does, and I eat the same way, sleep the same way. Yeah, so it's that's my style. I just very short pieces, but they have to be strong. You know, they can't. Anything is strong, actually. So, yeah.
No, and I feel like at this point, some of these images, like the hands or the teacup, become very iconic.
Right.
Really, almost like iconic works from a single image.
Yeah.
And maybe also around kind of ephemerality and material. And I think this was mentioned in the intro. Like, you tend to work with paper, handmade objects, transparent,
plastic,
simple surfaces, and maybe a little bit you could say about these kind of material choices.
Yeah, but I think they're so powerful. It's just to use newspaper for me. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I have to go and finish up my newspapers stuff, you know. And Bob goes, "What?" Yeah, so it's true that I used all that stuff, and I'm using it more and more. A lot of plastic, a lot of, and making weird stuff like the famous, what do you call it? The paper room. She goes, "Susan, no, but it's wallpaper." And then with the paper also, what you can do is you can keep shape to the paper to be tables, to be chairs, to be hands, to be everything. You know, you just stick the paper on top of something, and you got it resolved.
Yeah, and I feel like something I learned of your work is almost what's the minimum needed to make a material into a recognizable object.
And no waiting around. You do it fast. If it came out well, and if it didn't, it's good too. You know, that's the way it goes. Yeah.
Maybe talking a bit about the performance. Could you say a bit about what we just saw tonight, like the making of this work and kind of how it came to be?
You mean this?
The performance that we just saw.
Yeah. Mostly because some of the drawings that at the beginning that I showed at different times here were done at different times, and some of them were done even before I was doing all this work. And what they are, some of the stories are pretty long, but what happened is I was telling a story. It's not like when I do a piece and it's just that, but this was involving my family, and I just wanted to make sure that there was definitely a story I wanted to tell in separate stories at different times. So it was a little bit completely different. It's not at all the same.
Yeah, but I'm struck that, again, you kind of invent your own form. Like,
this
is a kind of, this form of how the drawings, the story, what's maybe more planned, what might be improvised. Like, it feels like a very, like you in that it's its own inventive form.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And maybe say, like, since you've begun performing again in the last decade,
right?
What are your thoughts, kind of, as you make new work? Like, what's interesting right now?
I'm using a lot of new things. I mean, I'm doing a lot of different sculptures now and different things which involve. You have to sit in front of it and say, okay, why would anybody do this? I don't know very much myself, but shortly I'm going to show you those works because they are related very much to what you're talking about. And for the same reason, I do them and that's just what it is. There's nothing more, nothing less, or nothing to be changed.
It's cool to hear, like, that the inventiveness is really, like, almost authentically coming from your sensibility, and it takes all these forms.
Yeah.
I want to pay a little attention to this, because I have to say, for a, what do we even call it? For a gallery guide, this is like a retrospective catalog. Yeah, it's I have to say, one of the nicest
it's very beautiful.
museum publications
very
I've seen
nice.
in a long time.
Did you get one, guys?
And I think it's
downstairs.
it's $5. This is like the deal of the city right now. It's like a
And it is very beautiful.
174-page retrospective
Yeah.
catalog with essays and incredible ephemera and documentation. I was so astonished by this as a kind of like the book you wish existed.
Yes.
That kind of told the story of your work.
Well, so would I.
yeah.
I think that also, I mean, you could talk about it what I'm going to do is to thank American Society for what they have, for this show and for the idea of it. I because of the way I am doing and whatnot, I almost didn't do it several times, in fact, because that's just how I am. It either works right away, it doesn't work. And I am very, very happy and very, very proud of what it looks like and what I did here. And I think they're incredible. All of them, all the American Society people are incredible. And I thank you very, very much. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and it's heartening to go see these shows, and it's like the show you couldn't wish for a sort of better, presentation
They did
like
an
this.
incredible show. Incredible, yes.
Yeah. And did you work a lot with them on this publication too?
No.
It's well done.
Yeah, they did it. They did it well. Yeah, what happened is the show one thing after another that I've done, and for anybody who really wants to know about what I did in all those years, you have to see this because it goes dong, 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 dong. Unbelievable. True.
And are there things, because I feel like I know some of your archival work, but are
Right.
there things downstairs that are being shown for the first time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not because I did them wrong. Yes, for instance, the living room.
Yeah.
I mean, that I worked actually in my living room. In my house, nobody could go there and celebrate or do anything. She's busy with her papers and with her plastic and stuff like that. And yeah. What was I talking about?
Well, what work down there maybe is the first time it's been seen? Like things that are being shown for the first time.
Oh, I constantly draw in constant. It's not like I'm going to go drawing. It's more like I'm drawing. I'm going to go eat something. Or I'm going to drawing. I'm going out. It's the other way around for me. So I'm constantly doing stuff. So if I could be having shows all the time. It's just I'm very productive with that.
And your decision to install things on the floor or in
Yeah.
kind of unconventional
Yeah, it has
ways
to
is
be,
just
yes. Has
yeah.
to be on the floor. I don't believe in framing stuff. I don't believe in keeping them as if they were such precious stuff. I mean, things are the way they are, and it's what they are when you do them, and that's that. Yeah.
No, and I think that does make the show kind of a radical exhibition in all these ephemeral forms and then non-ephemeral forms being treated a bit in a provocative way like that.
Right.
So.
Right. But a lot of it is, a lot of the stuff that are happening definitely would not have been possible without you giving me that call and saying, you have to do it. You have to do it.
That's my honor, and I guess it's heartening to see this. I don't know. I was thinking about this going to MoMA recently. That there's been so much work to kind of reframe the history of art in a more open way that brings forward ephemeral practices and things that weren't circulating in these really more capitalistic, like market or gallery
Right.
structures, and those histories really weren't very prevalent. And I think has been at least a kind of great corrective the last.
Right.
10 or 15 years, the work continues, but I think for sure this is like a testament to that. And the importance of the work for its own sake, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, plenty of good stuff.
Yeah, by you. Do we? If people in the audience have questions, I think we could probably take. Do you feel like it? Take a question or two?
Yeah. Anybody has a question of any kind? No? You? Wait. Okay.
Hi. Could you speak a little bit about what inspires you and how your inspiration has evolved through your career, and what is art for you? It's a big question.
art for me is just an immediate thing. It's not art like art. Art to be hanged, art to be sold, art to be whatever. Art, it's whatever you do, you have, you can, what, you know. Did you see the show downstairs? Did you see any frames? Did you see it, really? Oh, don't leave without going through it.
There might be an answer or two down there.
Yeah?
Julie.
Talk a little bit more about the floor drawings.
About the floor.
floor.
I forgot all about the floor drawings. Where are they? I thought some were going to be here.
We can click through and maybe bring them up on the screen, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I have a whole group of floor drawings that I've done in this last year. And what they're all the size of my table in the dining room. So nobody can not just celebrate in the living room, but nobody can eat in the dining room because I'm doing huge drawings. And I put them on top of the table, and then nothing soft about it, nothing arty, nothing. They're just drawings, they're straightforward craziness, real, unbelievable. I have to show you those things. And nothing, oh, there's a frame there. Who put frame on my, who did that horrendousness? Okay, and, but I believe very much that you can draw and you can, and I'm looking at you because I love your face. You, when asking that question, you can do drawings yourself. Are you an artist?
No.
You're not? Okay, you could be. Go home and see what you can do. And yeah. You never know. I mean, give yourself 5-10 years, you might be very famous and even rich. Yeah, I don't know. I think that this has been a wonderful experience to be here with you and with all of you wonderful people. What do you think?
Wonderful.
Let's go have a
Yeah,
drink.
Let's adjourn.